Anybody who doesn't think that that looks like Charlie Kirk, I mean, come on. That's his dad. It has to be. I mean, yeah, they can lie to us, but that's what the media and all the government does, apparently. You know, they're Democrats. He's a Democrat, okay? He's a total plant. This is how the rhino problem gets created. But look, this guy, this Paul Kirk, boy, oh boy. Yeah, Kirk's the keeper. Yeah, he was practically a Kennedy. Of course he was. I mean, really, of course. I've been saying for a while. It's like it seems like there's this war with the Kennedys. I know there's the whole side that thinks that JFK was this hero, and maybe he was. I don't know. Just I don't know. There's things that in my mind, I'm not going to go into it in this video, but I've done enough videos about it, like his airlift to America stuff, and that brought Barack Obama's dad here because he did that against the State Department. But I'm sure it was just, coincidence that he was just trying to do a good thing for America, even though he screwed the black community over when he did it. Anyway, so I don't want to get off, but there's just some things that just stand out to me, like, like this, whatever. The other thing that's weird, and just let me add this, because I don't want to bring people's, disorders into this. I'm just thinking on a genetic line here. I mentioned yesterday, Charlie Kirk, if you watch him, it's like he has these twitches. He tries to hide them. He's always touching his face and always doing this, and he tries really hard to hide it, but every now and then when you're hearing somebody talk, and you don't see him when he's talking, but if he's just listening, he tries, because he'll go, yeah, honestly, I'm not making fun of him. I'm not. Nobody has said that he has a disorder, but it reminded me of Tourette's. Then look at RFK Jr. Because RFK Jr. has what's called spasmodic dysphonia, which is, the vocal cords, but that also can be with tics. And then I guess in 1966, there was discovered what they called the Kennedy disease. But they say it's not related to the Kennedys. I'll get to it. I'm jumping around. Sorry. Anyway, let me first tell a little bit more. So the Kirk, here's the reason I'm doing another video on this. It's because Charlie Kirk claims that Robert Kirk is his father and is an architect and has an architect company in Arlington Heights, Illinois. So I already said how the Better Business Bureau has no evidence. I mean, it's been a company since 1988, but they don't have any evidence or anything that they've ever done anything. Well, I looked further on the web page. So this is further on the web page, okay? So as you can see there, it says Robert Kirk, President, Robert Kirk, okay? So above this it's not even their website. It's just, that's why it's like a ghost company. And that's why the BBC doesn't have anything. But then when I scrolled down, I saw this Dodge Construction Network, and look at where they're out of. Boston, Massachusetts, of course, because that's where Paul G. Kirk was from. Yeah, so he and yet so you see how it works. You see how the game gets played. I mean, it's so dirty. So just a little bit about this Paul G. Kirk. They say him and Gail Loudermilk, who was his wife since 1974, never had any children. Just seems weird, but okay. But he was on the board of overseers at Harvard because he graduated from there. He was he's a lawyer. He also he served as co-chairman of the Commission on Presidential Debates, the chairman of the board of directors for the JFK Library Foundation, and a member of the board of directors for the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the United States Senate. And I mean, he's most notably known for, between 2009 and 10, he was appointed to fill a vacancy by the death of Ted Kennedy. And he chaired the DNC committees from 1985 to 1989. I think that we've been lied to, and Charlie, because again, they don't care what party they get control of. They don't. I guess my question is why is nobody saying anything about this? I mean, I guess because we just have to go with what Charlie Kirk says. Well, his dad's company doesn't show that it's ever done anything, and Charlie Kirk has a ton of websites that serve him to say, oh, his dad used to work for Donald Trump. Well, no, Robert. I don't even know who Robert Kirk is, but this Kirk, who supposedly never had any children, but where the Dodge Construction Company is tied to that Arlington Heights here in Illinois, goes back to Massachusetts, where all these dirtbag Democrats are. And again, that looks like Charlie Kirk. Like, look at the hairline. Charlie. But because nobody will officially say it, but they're never going to. They're never going to. Talk about a freaking uniparty. Look, this guy's all in the Democrat circles. Plus, I mean, overseer on Harvard, and there's a lot more to go into here. And then again, his father was was a Supreme Court justice in Massachusetts. And here's the thing: he was an assistant. He was a special assistant to Ted Kennedy from 1969 to 1977. In 1983, he became treasurer of the National Democratic Party. It goes on to say, in 1985, Kirk was elected chairman of the DNC despite opposition from Virginia Governor Chuck Robb and a group of Southern state Democrats who went on to form the Democratic Leadership Council. He caused a brief stir when he suggested means testing for Social Security, but he quickly withdrew his remarks. In the 1986 midterm elections, under Kirk's chairmanship, the Democrats regained control of the Senate, which had a Republican majority since 1980. Kirk resigned shortly after Republican Vice President George H.W. Bush's victory over Massachusetts Governor Dukakis in 1988. He was succeeded by Ron Brown. Okay, so but it also goes on to say here that in August 2009, Senator Ted Kennedy died, leaving a vacancy in Massachusetts Senate delegation. 5 years earlier, in 2004, the Massachusetts General Court had withdrawn the authority of the governor to fill a U.S. Senate vacancy by appointment to prevent the then governor Mitt Romney, a Republican, from appointing a fellow Republican to fill the remainder of Democrat John Kerry's Senate term. If Kerry were to win the 2004 presidential election, the legislation was enacted over Romney's veto. It says all that time, at that time, Senator Ted Kennedy successfully made personal appeals to the Massachusetts Democratic legislative leaders to pass the bill, which had been stalled prior to his request. The new law called for special election months later to fill the vacancy. However, Kennedy's death denied Democrats in the U.S. Senate the 60-vote majority required to end the filibuster. Given the urgency of the narrow partisan support for the legislation before Congress, most notably health reform, Democrat lawmakers and liberal pundits called for an interim senator to be appointed so that Massachusetts would have a full Senate representation until Election Day. Kennedy himself had requested such a change before he died. In September, the General Court passed legislation restoring the governor's power to make interim government, or make selections for people if they die. So when the governor did that, Kirk's appointment was done the next day. So Kirk helped. If it wasn't for him, well, no, because if Kennedy wasn't, still they would have passed that damn healthcare shit. So this is ridiculous, this lying, okay? I mean, unbelievable. I'll do another video about the whole Kennedy disease. You want to know about that. They say it's not tied to the Kennedys, but do they ever tell us the truth about anything? I mean, hard to know.